Hey fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. This is the Wilson Burn 100 version 5, the 5th generation of Wilson's power and spin racket. How does it play? What is new? Let's get into it. Visually, this racket is an improvement according to me. I do like this new colorway they have and the kind of color shifting design that they put into all their lines now. I think this one looks great. How does it play? Well, it has raw power, easy spin, and a better price than most rackets today. This is the sales text from Tennis Warehouse, so take it with a grain of salt perhaps, but it's $179 list price, which is far cheaper than most rackets these days. Not that much new compared to the version 4, I would say hardly anything. As you can see in the specs, this is still a pretty stiff racket with a slightly thinner beam than the Ultra. Otherwise, the specs are very, very similar. Actually, if you put them next to each other, it's hard to tell them apart. But this one has parallel drilling, which the Ultra 100 version 4 does not have, as far as I understand. And parallel drilling is a thing that makes the strings move more. So you get a bit more depth, a bit more string movement, shorter lifespan of strings, I would say, and a little bit more of a lively, spinny response. That could be someone's cup of tea, and it could also be someone else's not cup of tea. Burn version 5 power line update, 5th generation, like version 4. How will this play? Let's have a look. Yeah, this is a racket with easy playability, spin, power, depth. What I did struggle with was control. I get into a bit why, but it's just easy to pick up and play. And my 65-year-old stepfather also tried it and he enjoyed it. So spin and power is all there, control a little bit lacking, probably due to the parallel drilling, especially if I compare it, for example, to a Pure Aero. I find the Pure Aero to give me a bit more confidence if you compare other spin rackets. Compared to the Ultra, it's quite similar to the Ultra, but there I also get a little bit more confidence on my shots with the Ultra, but very similar in feel. And if you're not super picky on your racket, you just want a quality racket that gives you power and spin, I think this should be considered because the price point is so good. So I think it's great that they have this option. I guess it can be very confusing for everyone when you compare the Ultra and the Burn and the other rackets in the lineup. Now all the brands have such a vast selection of rackets. Positive first impressions. It actually plays really nicely. Feels relatively soft on the arm, like the previous generation. Good dampening. You don't feel the ball 100%, but it's a pretty well dampened racket. If you're looking for a cost-friendly, solid, powerful, spin-friendly racket, this should be on the list. Easy power, stable. Control might be an issue. Let's look at it at the net. The racket is pretty light and maneuverable, so that's a good thing at the net. Not super stable, but decent. Sweet spot is semi-generous. I would say, though, that the ball has a tendency to jump out of the string bed. I think it's the parallel drilling. I usually struggle when these rackets have a bit of a trampoline effect, and I do feel a bit of a trampoline. It's not kind of clash-like. A lot of string movement, probably due to the open grommets here, so I don't know. It feels like it's hard to get perfect control. I think I noticed that more this time around. Feels like the strings move a lot more. I think this will be eating strings. But I'm not the target group for this type of racket. I prefer kind of control-oriented racket with very dependable string beds. But if you're a veteran player like my father, or you just want a solid racket with good power and spin, you don't expect control to be premium, then this racket should be considered at the price point. Like I said, my father really enjoyed it when he hit with it. He plays with the Fury Arma Pro 98. He did feel like the string bed was a little bit stiff, but I did string it with Laxonole power at 25 kilos to just rein in some control, and that's 55 pounds for you with different metrics. But yeah, he did enjoy the frame. I mean, it's easier power for him at his age and the level, so that could be a perfect racket for someone playing a lot of doubles, veteran tennis and so on, or a junior wants a light racket where the control is not the main thing. If you really value control feel, I mean, this is not the type of racket you're looking at anyway. So just want to point that out. It's hard to measure all rackets equally. They usually have a target group, and if you're not in it, you shouldn't really consider the racket. So not for me. Bit too lively in the string bed, bit too much action. I prefer the Aero, for example. If we look at spin rackets, I feel like that is a higher quality. Or the Shift, which I also feel like has a bit more dependability in the string bed and a better feel. But overall, this is pretty well dampened, good on serves, obviously, that these rackets mostly are. and it has the features of many other rackets in the category. It's not like a top 10er, but it's just a good value proposition if you want a bit of a budget alternative that still plays well. But it's not a racket that I think advanced players will gravitate towards, which I don't think is the point either, because then they wouldn't have priced it the way they did. So I think that's my verdict. Solid racket. Not sure if it's better or worse than the previous generation. It feels pretty much exactly the same. But the string movement, I noticed it more this time around. Not sure why. I tested it with the same string setup and tension, so it's maybe something they've done with the grommets. They maybe open it up even more, I don't know, but parallel drilling was in the previous generation. So that's my verdict. I hope you found this review useful. Have a nice day now, and don't forget to play some tennis.